Okay, so I'm just going to talk you through the nitrogen cycle. So nitrogen is an unusable form in our atmosphere. Okay, it's an abundant gas, meaning that it takes up 78% of our atmosphere. And nitrogen is in the form of N2. Okay, and what that means is that there's two nitrogen elements bonded together through a triple bond. Now, this triple bond is very, very, very strong, and it's virtually impossible to break by the bacteria, or by anybody. So basically, what happens is the bacteria then and microorganisms convert it into a compound that the plants and animals may use for growth. That's the main aim here, is for nitrogen is for growth. Okay. So nitrogen fixing is step one. Okay, and that's this one here. Okay, and this is where they're converting the N2 gas into a nitrogen containing compound so that it can be used directly by the plant in the root nodules. So this particular plant here is a legume because they're what contain the nitrogen fixing bacteria, and you can see that the nitrogen the nitrogen gas is taken in by these bacteria, and then it's converted to ammonium, and it's given back to this plant. Now, what happens if I'm not a legume and I don't have the nitrogen fixing bacteria in my root? They go down a bit further into the soil, and there's more nitrogen fixing bacteria. Those nitrogen fixing bacteria will convert the nitrogen, the N2, to ammonium. I should also say here, back in step one, that they convert it to either ammonium, which is your NH4 plus, or the nitrates, NO3 minus. So it could take it direct back into the plant. Okay, so nitrogen fixing bacteria anyway is already in the soil, as we've learned here, and it reacts with the N2 and converts it to ammonium, which is NH4 plus, and that goes through the nitrification by nitrifying bacteria, which convert the NH4 plus to NO2 minus, and they're nitrifying bacteria. The nitrites then, so NO2 minus, is converted to nitrates. Again, nitrifying bacteria are doing this. So it goes ammonium, nitrites, and then nitrates. The nitrates then are assimilated, which means that they're used by the plants via active transport. Okay, it's actually active transport that does this. And we remember that active transport is the movement of molecules from an area of high concentration to low concentration, but ATP is required, meaning energy is needed for this to happen. And they are taken into the cells in the plant or the animal for forming amino acids or DNA or energy, ATP. Okay. The plants are then eaten by the animals. Okay, so we're up here now, going on to this stage, and the nitrates, then the NO3 minus, so these are eaten, they're taken in by the animals, and then the animals are going to poo. Okay, so they're going to have a bit of feces there. Do I have any brown? What this? Okay, so that didn't even work. Sorry. So they're going to produce some waste. Okay, and that's going to go down then into this part, and there's going to be decomposers in the soil. Okay, so basically the waste that's produced actually contains ammonia. Okay, ammonia. Okay, which is NH3, and then the animals die, and so do the plants, and so do the proteins with them. The protein then in their cells all contain nitrogen, and this is a decomposing bacteria comes into play then and breaks down the protein into the nitrogen compound. So that's where the decomposers come in. They decompose the protein, and that's why there's an arrow down here and an arrow here, because the plants and animals die, or the feces from them animals. And then the protein then is broken into a nitrogen compound, and that nitrogen compound is used to form ammonium. Okay, and the process then again happens all over again. And then we've got a process called denitrifying bacteria. These bacteria are in the soil, they're present in the soil, and they convert nitrates back to atmospheric nitrogen so that the other stages can happen all over again. Now, like, you actually don't really want this part to happen because you're losing nitrogen. You're losing time with the usable form of nitrogen, and you want to use as much nitrogen as possible for the growth of plants. The denitrifying bacteria, then, if they're present, if there's not enough oxygen, okay, present with low levels of oxygen, and the places become waterlogged. So in a field, if it becomes waterlogged, that means that there's no oxygen, and your denitrifying bacteria is going to get in there, and it's going to convert your nitrates, which are your ideal form of using this nitrogen, back into nitrogen gas into the atmosphere, and the process is going to happen all over again. If there is like a flash of lightning, that drills it down into the ground, and there it releases nitrates then as well. So that's just more nitrogen that's usable for the plants. How would you avoid this happening? You would plow the soil, which allows it to be aerated. Okay, so to avoid this occurring, which you do want to avoid, you plow the soil. Okay, so just to go over it all again, okay, so I'm just going to rub out everything again and talk you through it. So what happens is the atmospheric nitrogen is unusable. I cannot use it, okay, it's just unusable. So that is taken in by nitrogen fixing bacteria, which live in root nodules of legume plants, which would be your peas or beans. So those bacteria take in the nitrogen gas and convert it to either ammonium or your nitrites, so what happens is then it's going to give it back into the sorry, I said nitrites, I meant nitrates. So sorry, I'll start again. The nitrogen fixing bacteria take in the nitrogen, and they take in nitrogen, and they're going to convert it to ammonium or nitrates so that the plant can actually directly use it. So there's a direct, I suppose, there is a direct payment here, like, okay, so it's taken in and it's used straight away. Now, what if you're not a legume? They're already in the soil anyway. They take the nitrogen in, they convert it to ammonium, which then go on to nitrifying bacteria, which convert it to nitrites and then nitrates, and the nitrates then are assimilated, which means it's absorbed by the plant. It's taken in through the root, and it's gone up then through active transport, which is what I said was using energy to move things from area of high concentration to low concentration. The animal eats the plant, okay, the animal poos, then it goes down into, or it dies, and then it goes down into the ground, okay, further into the soil, both the dead plants and dead animals, and those decomposers take the nitrogen from the cells of these animals and plants, and they convert it to ammonium, which then goes through the whole process all over again. All right, with a bolt of lightning, that's what's called, a bolt of lightning, that directly like puts in nitrates into the soil, and then it just speeds up the process. Now, just to touch on the denitrifying bacteria again, all right, so these guys here, they are in the soil anyway, like, and what they do is they take the nitrates, okay, so the NO3 minus, and they convert it directly to N2 gas, which is obviously what you don't want, because you're losing nitrogen, usable form of nitrogen, and they're usually in abundance in waterlogged soil, and like soil with very low O2. Okay, so how do you avoid it? No, sorry. Okay, you go. I'll just write up here. So how do you avoid avoid waterlogged? You're going to plow it, and that introduces oxygen. Okay, so that's going to avoid these, but they're going to be in the soil anyway. You are going to lose some. All right, guys. I hope that helped. And if there's any questions, just give me a shout.